Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis. I'm a serial entrepreneur, international speaker, business growth strategist, coach, mentor, and consultant. And today, I have an awesome guest. He's a serial entrepreneur, best-selling author, cosmic catalyst, a Maverick Mischief-maker, and a Galactic Goofball. He is the creator of Cosmic Journal, author of Evolved Enterprise, and the founder of Maverick 1000, a global collective of visionary entrepreneurs making a serious difference in the world without taking themselves too seriously. In fact, it's not unusual to find him dressed as a lemur, a showgirl, or even in matching mermaid tails with Sir Richard Branson. He redefines how business is played in the 21st century at the intersection of evolutionary growth, impact, and fun. Welcome, Yanik Silver, and thank you for being on my show.
Yeah, thanks, Evan. Appreciate it. And I guess we can add to the list now flamingos from our last trip there. We all dressed up as flamingos, including Richard. So quite a good time.
Yeah, awesome, mate. So awesome to have you here, and love that you're doing all this cool, different stuff with Sir Richard Branson. Very, very cool, mate. And you are a very successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, just please introduce yourself by telling us about you and your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's got to start with my family coming over from Russia to the U.S. I was born in Moscow. We came over when I was about 3 years old, and my dad came with about, I always say it's $256. I think he corrected me just recently. I think it was $328 or something like that. So, but in that neighborhood, for me, my mom, and my grandmother, and pretty much like many immigrants, starting over. And so within a couple months, though, he ended up quitting or being fired. He almost had a choice come down at the hospital that he worked at, and decided to go to work for himself, selling medical equipment and repairing medical equipment. And so I grew up in a family business, and in a family business, you pretty much do anything and everything. And so it was 14 years old. I was out. I was telemarketing for latex gloves. At 16, I was out on the road cold calling doctors because my dad gave me a car, but only if I went out and talk to doctors. And then it was just like from there I learned about marketing. I learned about this idea that it really sucked to cold call. And one of my doctor clients who I sold an entire surgery center to, he's like, you're kind of interested in this marketing thing, maybe you should check out this audio tape. And he gave me an audio tape of Jay Abraham. If you know Jay, I think have you had him on the show?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah, right. So Jay, way back, when I was maybe 17, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I could actually talk to people that are only interested in what I have to sell. And I was just fascinated by this idea that you could write a letter or an ad or something like that to get people, doctors in this case, to raise their hand. And I just studied it, day and night, not just Jay's stuff, but really anyone that had to do with copywriting or direct response marketing. And then also learning about personal growth from mentors like Earl Nightingale and others like that, and Jim Rohn. And I would be driving around in my car with my buddies, my hockey buddies that I played ice hockey with, and they're like, what the hell are these tapes? I'm like, don't worry, you're not going to like any of these. But I was learning, from Earl Nightingale, that you want to become an expert, you study for 1 hour a day on any subject, and for 3 years, or 1 hour a day for 5 years, become a world-class expert. And I was like, well, what happens if you do it for 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day? And I had my dad's business to experiment with, and we literally went from a little regional competitor to a national player because of the ads I would write for him, modeled after one of my mentors like Joe Sugarman or Ted Nicholas or Dan Kennedy and some of these others. And it was from there that I just learned this incredible skill that then turned into me taking that to the online world, and now what we've been doing with the Maverick world.
Yeah, awesome, mate. What a story. Love the humble beginnings and how you got thrust into the deep end, and how you then learned to grow, and then from some of the greats, which is awesome, like Jay and everyone else that you've mentioned. So very, very cool, mate.
Yeah, it's quite fun, like full circle moments where people like Ted. I ran a copywriting seminar with him, and Jay, I remember having breakfast with him and telling him that story, and then just Joe Sugarman, who just recently passed. We took him Baja Dune Buggy racing with us for the Maverick group, and just so many incredible moments that from these little beginnings, like you mentioned.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. And I think one thing that I I did for about 6 months, and I think would have helped you a lot as well, is the cold calling as well, right? Because it's challenging, cold calling, going door to door, getting all these no's and things like that. And I think it builds a lot of resilience and a lot of different things with our mindset. So is that sort of, you think, was a good factor in sort of defining you as you grew as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, learning how to sell in some capacity is a really great skill set. And then also, for me, it was learning how to then write and take that, salesmanship in print essentially and transferring it over so you have more leverage. But we used to run an event for, I think maybe 7 years, I can't remember, for kids called the Family Freedom Event. And one of the things that we do is teach kids how to get out on the streets and go sell things. And we would provide them the products. It'd be over a holiday like July 4th in the US or New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, and then get them selling these products. And then it was really fascinating watching these 8, 9, 10-year-olds out, talking to people on the street and being, and a lot of times adults are, it's like, don't even talk to me because I know you're trying to sell them. And they get their first yes, it's just like this massive energy spike, and it's so fun. And just teaching them about a few core principles like that, and the sales is powerful. Like if you can sell, you always have an opportunity, but then it's like, how do you leverage it, right? Like, so the copywriting was a way of leveraging, so a skill set of taking the sales process and let's go talk to people that are then interested in what you got to sell, not just cold calling only, where there's a lot of just dead weight, a lot of rejection, a lot of a lot of stuff that you can, I think, avoid by having a really good sales process.
Yeah, love it, mate. So true. And I really love how you're getting the kids involved and all the other cool stuff you're doing. And you obviously served on the Constellation board for Virgin Unite, the entrepreneurial foundation of the Virgin Group and the Branson family. And you just got back from Necker Island and do all this cool stuff with Richard and dress ups and all the other fun stuff, which is really, really cool. So do you want to maybe just share a little bit about how you got involved there and what type of things you've achieved in there?
Yeah, so as you mentioned in the bio, like this intersection of growth, impact, and fun, that's what we talk about in Maverick. And this is really kind of my inner DNA, which has then turned into like who we look for other entrepreneurs, because I think that there's a shift happening in business right now where it's happening from the outside in and the inside out. And the outside in is your customers' buying behavior is changing. So customers want to buy from companies that have a greater purpose and impact, a mission to what they're doing. And this is driving their buying behavior because customers will vote with their wallets for what they want. So and you're seeing this like just increase over the years where people are willing to change brands and even pay more in some instances for that. You look at companies like Patagonia as a really good torchbearer for this. Some others, who have really just stepped up. And so the book Evolved Enterprise is about this aspect of how do you add that impact side that actually improves your business, gets customers to want to buy more, aligns you with better A players in your team, gets you more icons and endorsements, just all sorts of things that really work for you, but it's got to be authentic. And now that inside out part, so that's the outside in, and the inside out is your team members, your employees, your team. They want to work for a company that has a greater purpose and meaning. And so there's a stat that I think has been increasing about what percentage of employees are actually engaged at work. And it used to be 70%, and something like maybe 75 or 80% now are not engaged. So it's tremendous amount of disengagement because they're not aligned with that greater purpose and mission and meaning. And so, to get the best people on your team, you have to have that purpose and mission. And so that's where we've had that intersection with Virgin Unite, and we work with them in partnership for maybe 11, 12 years now, actually, because they work on entrepreneurial solutions to big global issues. And we bring in interesting entrepreneurial thinkers and doers to work on some of that stuff, but it's in alignment with this idea that a business is the greatest lever for making that difference. And where are those lever pieces? So you look at things like your supply chain, like who are you buying from and where are you buying? You look at your employees. I call this empowered employment. So there's instances of companies that I feature in the book where they would hire people that would be looked at as a disadvantage, like for instance, people on the autism spectrum scale. But it's a company that does quality control assurance type stuff or cross browser platforms. So it's like looking for that's a competitive advantage that way, having somebody that can look at things that where it's more attention to detail and repetitive tasks are actually, at an advantage there. So empowered employment, supply chain, also the talent or the ideas within your organization. There's a company called Pacific that is in the Pacific Northwest, and they're a soup company. And what they've done is their super skill or talent is they can take ingredients and turn them into soups or any other kind of non-perishable items. So what they do is they shut down their production line once a month, and they work with a local food bank, bring in all the food that they've got instead of it rotting, and they get their team to collaborate and create new recipes and ideas, and then they create those into non-perishable foods. So that's their talent or their skill using that. The actual product or service is another place that businesses can make a difference. And then also their distribution and reach. So all these levers, and that's not even counting donations or capital. So there's all these spots that they can make a difference in that way.
Yeah, love it, mate. Really powerful. Love the whole purpose-driven thing. And I can definitely agree that, it's becoming more important, for people to be engaged and wanting to do and just feel good, right, with where we work. Because not everyone's built to be the entrepreneur, right, to take the risk and grow it. But there's a lot of people that can be the entrepreneurs or just want to work for a company or someone that, really making a big difference. So.
Yeah, 100%. And I talk about, a really simple way of thinking about it is connecting your head, which is your business sense and your marketing smarts, with your heart, which is the impact you want to make in the world, and with your higher purpose, like why are you here? And everyone can do that. And when you get in alignment with that, really magic happens. And companies also the same way, like companies actually have their own sort of soul and their own purpose and their own higher purpose as well, and aligning in that way.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Completely agree. And, you're very close with Sir Richard Branson, right? You've been to Nick Island many times and you've been working them for a while. So I just like to ask, because I'm sure a lot of people are probably curious, is what is Richard like? When you're sort of hanging around him, you've hanging around him for a while, you do some fun things and all type of stuff. And sort of how do you, connect with him today?
Richard, I've been really fortunate to connect with a lot of people that I've, looked up to in some way and have been business mentors or just people that are really inspirational. And the ones that I love the most are pretty much what you see is what you get. And when you're with him, it's very similar to what you get on, sort of the outside world, Richard. So that's a really special opportunity to see that where the alignment is there, that aspect of the authenticity, the genuineness. And he's a lot of fun. He loves to, he calls himself Dr. Yes, so he loves to say yes to interesting random things. He will, for instance, last time we were there, I was like, hey, you want to go, you go swim. He would swim. He didn't do it this time, but he does it quite often, is swim from his one island to the next island, which is like 3.3 miles. I'm like, Richard, you want to go for a swim? Let's take some of us out there. He's like, yeah, of course. He's like, all right, just everyone to get up at 6 o'clock and I'll meet you down there. And so, he loves doing wild stuff like that. He's also in incredible shape right now. He's about 71, almost 72. This time he took a bunch of us. I wasn't able to make it this time, but he took everyone on a big bike ride that wanted to go. And it's a 10-mile bike ride with 6 of it being uphill and significantly uphill. And a lot of the guys that went super in shape, and they're like, oh my God, I thought I was going to die. Like it was a super intense ride. So he takes his physical fitness really, it's a key priority for him. He makes sure that he does something in the morning, playing tennis, kiting, something like that. And then also just making sure that he's really engaged. So it's not just about business. It's really the entire picture. And it's been incredible to see, the way he is with his grandkids, especially. He loves his kids, his grandkids, really includes them in part of what he's doing. So it's been inspirational in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I'm looking forward to meeting Sir Richard at some point in the future as well. So, and let's talk a little bit about Maverick1000, right? .com, where you founded this. It's been going for a while now. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, but I'll leave the floor to you. Do you want to maybe just tell us more about it and how it can help people? What's behind that?
Yeah, I think it'd be important to share how it started, right? It was really scratch my own itch. So Back in 2000, I even thought I was late, but I got involved in the internet marketing, digital marketing space. And I had this idea literally at 3 o'clock in the morning, woke up to an answer to a question. And I think questions really dictate your answers, right? The better your question, the better your answer. And the question was, how do I create a fully automatic website as an incredible value for people and makes me money while I sleep, was the question. And I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning with this idea for instant sales letters. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is it. I'm going to wake up. So I got to work at 3 o'clock in the morning, starting these fill in the blank sales letter templates. And within about a month and a half, and again, no technical expertise or knowledge, but made my first sale. And then within about 6 months, we were on track to do 6 figures that year. And people were like, oh, how'd you do that? Could you teach me? And again, that came from the copywriting background, right? You know, it wasn't just from a week or 2 weeks of studying it. It was from quite a while of really mastering copywriting and then applying it to small business. And from there, I started teaching people how to take their knowledge, their expertise, to sell it online, and you know, had incredible success with that, with everyone who actually followed it. And there wouldn't be an event or anywhere that I'd go to where someone would be like, dude, Yanik, it's amazing. I don't know, I'm financially free because I sell whatever, guitar lessons online or something like that. And it was great. It was really fulfilling in that way. But then I asked, you know, a question, which was, am I happy? Would I be happy doing what I'm doing 10 years from now? And I I pretty much journal every day. I think journaling is one of these success principles. Maybe we can talk more about it at another point. But in my journal, I got really honest, and the honest answer was no. And so then it was, okay, well, what would make me happier? What did I think would make me happy there? And it came down to like 3 interconnected circles, like a Venn diagram. At first, there was a dollar sign, a happy face, and a heart. So the dollar sign was make more money, and the heart was, you know, have a greater impact, and the happy face was, you know, have more fun. And so that essence has really remained what Maverick has been about. We changed now the dollar sign to a tree to represent growth. But so I'm like, okay, I think this is it. And I started, I like putting the stake in the ground, and then you see what happens. And the stake in the ground was, I'm going to do a Baja dune buggy racing trip. And we had 26 people show up. It was great, except for the fact that I lost $40,000 on it. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's, you know, it's an investment. And then after about $400,000, my wife's like, so what the hell are you doing? And I didn't have a really good answer. So I could have easily just sort of gone back to what I call the golden handcuffs and gone back to the digital marketing world. But I felt like there's a bigger impact I can make. And so it really forced me, you know, to look at my why. And the why wasn't to build an adventure travel company. It was to, as we say, change the way business is played. And so again, like going back to even like, you know, the success principles that I had been studying forever since I was 17, 18, like going back to those and really going, you know, back to like, because before that I had 7, 8 projects that all hit the 7-figure mark really without much sort of trying. And this one, I couldn't figure out like why, you know, the playbook wasn't working anymore. And it was something that I really cared deeply about. And so I asked myself, my 111-year-old self, I said, you know, what would my 111-year-old self tell me? And then using my non-dominant hand, so I'm right-handed, I use my left hand, which is a really powerful technique. And the answer was light 1,000 suns who can each light another 1,000 suns. I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. So then we changed the name to Maverick 1000 to represent this idea that you know, these entrepreneurs could become suns, and truly like, how do we ignite them, which is more of an evolutionary growth type thing, and change some of our programming to be more about, you know, maybe sitting in a sweat lodge with an indigenous elder or a shaman or something like that, to really help these entrepreneurs come into what is meant for them. And this is the same journey that I was on. So it was really connecting deeply to the head, the heart, that higher purpose. And so that's where Maverick 1000 was created. And, you know, originally it was just intended to be like an adventure travel kind of group for entrepreneurs, but it's really evolved to be so much more now.
Yeah, very cool, mate. Love it. Love how it sort of came about, and then, you know, how it sort of challenged you as well in a different way to then, you know, innovate it and get people together that really grow in all those different ways. So love it, mate. Really powerful. And, you know, obviously connected to new people, building relationships is very important in business, right? And I think, you know, you've got a lot of great connections with what you've done there. And And, I think also linked with that is obviously partnerships, right? Because when you connect with people, you could, probably create partnerships and things like that as well, which can exponentially grow our businesses. So do you want to maybe just share a little bit about building relationships, and then also like segueing into partnerships and going, maybe some examples of that and how we can create them as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think partnerships, relationships are just a key lever for what you want to do. And it has to be approached in a way that is authentic and real. And a lot of times people look at relationships or partnerships as a transactional only. So it's like, okay, what can I do for you? What can I get from you? And that's fine. It's that's one level of a relationship. Another way is much more of a deeper connection. And so like when I connect to somebody, no matter what level they're at in business and life, whatever it is, one of my favorite questions is, what are you excited about right now? Or what are you passionate about right now? And it could be a business project, or it could just be, something that they're working on that's a hobby. It could be, whatever it is. And that's sort of my first inroad to really get to know them on a deeper way. And then from there, I just really naturally love to connect them with, whether it could be a book or a resource or somebody else that might be able to help them on that journey or whatever they're working on. And it's not done from a reciprocation kind of way or a quid pro quo. It's literally done from, I just like helping people move further along towards whatever they're working on or whatever their dream is. And if I can do that through, whether it's an introduction or just a great book that I've read or something like that, that makes me really, really happy. And then you're sort of building a social capital bank account. Now, some people are more like scorekeepers, and they'll be like, okay, well, I did this for you, so now there's an immediate favor that I'll ask for you because it's more likely that you're going to grant me a favor. And so there's a psychology to it, but I don't look at it that way. It's like I think that the universe kind of keeps score, and I don't really care about, if I did something for you, I'm going to then ask you immediately for a referral or whatever the case is. I think it's a much more long-term thing. And you can think about also like the people that you have in your life that you have the deepest relationships with. They're not transactional. They're much deeper than that. And what I like to do as well is we can also engineer that in a way that is fun and engaging. So I talk about creating sandboxes. And so Maverick is one of those sandboxes where if we're doing something really unique, that creates the environment for those kind of deeper relationships to build. And I always talk about the right people are in the right room. So those people are going to synchronistically, serendipitously connect to each other. And you would also, have ways of them engaging, whether it's key questions or ways of them sharing what they're working on. But I like, engaging also with play. So doing that where it's really fun and, like we mentioned, like the flamingo thing, right? Like putting them in flamingo outfits on Necker where there are flamingos there. And we did that for like a dinner and a party, but it just breaks down barriers as well, where people can connect in a different level. One of the ways that I used to do this originally, I ran an event called the Underground for about 10 years, and it was in the digital marketing space. And it was this idea as a spy themed event. And we bring in these real world people who were doing incredibly well online, and they talk about what they were doing. And what people always remembered, and was really interesting, is they would give me credit for these introductions, even though I might not directly introduce them to somebody, but it was because we created the environment for these compelling connections to really happen. So there'd be a really cool party that would happen. There'd be just that unique experience of the actual event, and also, making sure that people are at a higher caliber that were showing up. So I got credit in that way of being that connection point or that nexus point for them. So, one of the things that you can be doing, even on a very small scale, is hosting dinner parties, hosting gatherings and get-togethers where you're curating the group or asking, the right people also know the right people. So asking them to bring somebody, and so then you become that nexus point, and you're building up a ton of social capital where you can create those relationships that are going to be benefiting you 5, 10, 50 years in the future.
Yeah, love it, mate. Really powerful. I'd love to see how you think about relationships and, not necessarily about the reciprocation, but just giving and allowing, the universe to provide and really connect on those deep levels. Really powerful. The one word you mentioned there was referrals, right? And I think, referrals are a powerful way to grow our business. So do you want to maybe delve a little bit deeper into referrals, about how we can get referrals easily alongside giving them back easily in a great way?
Sure. So I've done work with people on referrals forever, starting with doctors that I worked with to, you name it, almost any kind of business. And most businesses really do rely on referrals because, if you think about it, it's usually going to be your best customer or client, because they come pre-sold. They are, already usually willing to pay a premium price. They are less of a hassle factor. So, all these good things. So it's thinking about, okay, how do I create referrals that really work? So I also like leverage nodes or leverage connections. So I would rather, instead of making a deeper connection, perhaps with one person that then might be a referral, partner for one person or two people, like, could there be a key referral node in your network that you can then bring about? So let me give you a real example. Let's say I'm selling a piece of software that, I don't know, or you give me one. Give me a industry or a category, and I can give you something.
Industry or category? I don't know. Let's talk about the travel, even though it's a bit down now, but let's talk about travel maybe.
Sure. Okay. So if I'm in the travel space, let's say I'm in the luxury travel space, wherever you are. So there's going to be other partners that you can activate that probably have. One of my favorite questions is, who already has my ideal client before, during, or after I would serve them? And so then I start thinking about who are those kind of key referral partners. So perhaps it is a high-end jewelry store. Perhaps it's a, luxury car dealership. Perhaps it's a, I don't know, in that same vein, right? Like a luxury restaurant, something like that. And you can work out deals with them where once they are a client or a customer of them, then they're provided a discount or a special offer or some sort of special perk to come to you. Now, some of these, again, are longer term relationships. So let's say you wanted a super high-end car dealer as your referral partner. It's probably worth investing, maybe take some of your marketing budget out and host something unique and cool. It doesn't have to be so over the top, but it can be. And maybe, maybe it's taking them on a small little cruise or something like that. Or maybe it's, who knows what exactly the space for the container that you're creating, but the more interesting you make it, plus a lot of times if it's adding an element of impact or charity to it, it makes it even better. So you're bringing in all the key partners that you want and making it a benefit for them to be there. So if it's luxury car dealers and they're going to meet luxury jewelers and they're going to meet luxury, others that are selling to the luxury marketplace, maybe luxury real estate brokers or whatever the case is, they're also going to have some joint opportunities among themselves. And you're creating that container like we talked about. So that's how I'd be thinking about referrals. So it's like you can build these 10 relationships that are going to basically feed you forever.
Yeah, love it, mate. Really powerful, and like how the getting people together in these little experiences and stuff at the same time. Really powerful. Thank you. So you've obviously learned from a lot of the greats, as you were mentioning earlier today, and I'm sure you still continue to learn. So really powerful coaches and mentors, right? That are do there. So do you want to maybe just talk a little bit about how important coaching, mentoring has been for you in your life and businesses, and what it sort of helped you to achieve as well?
Yeah, so I think your life really changes in three ways: the books that you read, the people that you meet, and the experiences that you have. And I think that there's, for anyone that's motivated, the information is out there, right? Like in a book, someone has spent 10, 20, 50 years of their life condensing down their wisdom into a book, or an audio now. And obviously there's incredible podcasts now, and pretty much anything on YouTube. So if you're motivated, you can find that kind of information. And for me, I had many mentors in print, many mentors in audio. I would just drive around as I was driving and listening to that kind of information, because it's gonna impact you in a deep way. And so So then it's also like, what are you, so the people that you meet, right? So it's surrounding yourself with peers and partners and those that really want to support you and are looking out for your best interests. And I've paid over the years quite a bit for coaching and consulting and being in high level groups because I knew it would accelerate who I am and what I was doing, and also it led to key relationships that I still have many years later. But it's got to be the right coach or mentor, and so that has to come from you using your own intuition and got to kind of really decide, okay, who is this person? And one of the things I really look for is like, do they walk their talk, right? Are they able to, can they back up what they're telling me? Because a lot of people just hang out a shingle saying, here's what I do, but they don't have the experience to really back it up. So that's one of the things that I look for. The other part is, not discounting there's so many great resources that are available, and finding mentors, again, like via print, via audio, and sometimes they come for certain seasons of your life, or certain things that you want help on, a very particular skill set or a very particular thing that you're looking for. And it's really interesting where, I've had some where just by being a good student or just by, I'll show up. I remember one in particular, one gentleman I really wanted to meet and connect to. I'd read his book, loved what he was doing, and he was having a seminar about it, and it was all for his charity. And so I showed up, I donated to that charity, and then that started the relationship. But there was a real genuine connection. It wasn't just, again, that's transactional. Let me see if I can get in there and build a relationship. There was a real genuine sort of authenticity around it and what it was. And then that led to us actually hosting events together and getting, a really deep connection that came from there. So, again, kind of like the same stuff, like it can't be faked, and there's got to be a real genuine connection that happens both ways. And then if you do have a mentor, do what they say, and then come back to them with what happened, because that they really want to see that as well. Like what went on, what were the results, and even if there weren't positive results, but at least that you did what they recommended.
Yeah, love it, mate. So true. Completely agree. Coaches, mentors, and everyone that in whatever form is really powerful for us to grow. And like you said, keep moving forward and taking the action. And, everyone talks about all these great things that they do most of the time, but not necessarily about the not so great. And you touched on it just then. So do you want to maybe talk about maybe a big failure or challenge that's happened in your business journey and how you overcame it as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I talked a little bit about before when we talked about the Maverick piece and really resetting what that was. And it was a really interesting, quite a dark time where a lot of times entrepreneurs are very connected to their net worth being their self-worth. And I really had to disconnect those two and start rebuilding who I am as a person, regardless of what's happening in my business. And it was, you just kind of go back to, if you have a good day, then you have a good week and a good month. And so there was a couple key things that I went back to over 20 plus years of personal growth and transformation work, where it was just like, okay, these are very, very simple things that then just help me move out of that. And then you start building a momentum from that aspect. So even, these are all trite things that everyone's heard, a million times, but even like starting with gratitudes and appreciations, right? Like you start there and then that builds its own energy. Moving your body, even just moving your body daily would help. Having something, I have a blog post that I wrote about it, and if you want to post to it or not, but it was like these 9 things that really helped. And even like getting mentoring was one, and even providing mentoring is the same, like mentor mentee was one of them. Finding momentum, so what was going well and seeing where that was, finding meaning, so greater why and purpose into what was going on, And if you have that why, it does really help, right? Like if you have to get to the deeper why, and that's what I talked about before was the why wasn't to build an adventure travel company, it's to truly change the way business is played, and you have to keep digging in deeper and deeper, because if you have a why or a greater why, it'll help you overcome any kind of how, because entrepreneurship is a long journey, and there's going to be the ups and there's going to be the downs, and so if you're only focused on if things are going well, then you're in the game, but you have to be able to persevere and make it through. The other part is that support network and the peers, that's huge. And so all of that really comes together. The other part is journaling. That's one of my favorite success principles, I guess, where if you don't have a journaling practice, a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, may have started one and then stopped it, or different cases. I also love experiments. So journaling is one of those experiments you can try. Sometimes it could be maybe meditation or something else that you've wanted to add. But I like experiments where you give it a particular beginning and an ending, and then you see, has that added to my life or not? And even like things like your diet, right? Like getting rid of sugar or getting rid of alcohol, and then seeing like, how does that enhance my life or not? And again, it doesn't have to be forever, but as an experiment. And then you see, and for some people, it's like, oh, I want to add 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes of meditation. Again, you see what happens, and then you can add it or keep it going or modify it. And so I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, love it, mate. Really powerful. The success principles and all these different things that you do. Definitely, I'm sure we'll be modeling a lot of that if they're not already. So really powerful. And you shared so much gold with us today, Yanik. And I guess as we're wrapping up here, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
Yeah, I don't know if there is one key piece of advice, because everyone's journey is going to be different, but it really is about, if you can connect your head, your heart, your higher purpose, then you're going to have a better shot at this. And it's really fascinating, and maybe it's the stage that I'm at, but I don't think so. I think there's so many entrepreneurs that they originally get into their work because they see maybe an opportunity or something that can help them make more money, create more freedom. And then at some point, they really have to start taking stock of what is the greatest work that I can be doing in the world, and what does that mean? And usually, it's going to require another level of you stepping forward. And a lot of times, to get to that other level, you're going to have to leave behind something else from your current identity or your current work that you're doing. And that becomes a really scary proposition to what I say is, following your heart is frequently scary, but never wrong. And it's like making these leaps, but there's always people there that are ready to sort of support you and catch you and allow you to grow your own wings into what's next. So continue following your heart. And even if it doesn't make sense to anyone but you continue sort of moving forward in that way and following your dream, and again, connecting that your head, your heart, your higher purpose, I think is one way of doing it.
Yeah, love it, mate. Completely agree. Really powerful and so much gold that you've shared. And we connected through our networks, where I learned about your awesome journey from working with Virgin, Sir Richard Branson, founding Maverick 1000, authoring Evolve Enterprise you've talked about today, and catalyzing the catalyst to really make a global impact. Really how the business is played in the 21st century. Like you said, an intersection of more profits, more fun, and more impact as well with growth. And you're an awesome guy, Yanik, and I'm sure you continue to make a massive difference in this world. And I'm very grateful that we connected, and I look forward to working with you in the future. So Yanik, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So most entrepreneurs, I think, would benefit from the book Evolved Enterprise. It's a really simple read and just profound for the impact that you can add into your business. So evolvedenterprise.com or anywhere that you buy books. And then if you're a 7, 8, or 9-figure entrepreneur, it's worth looking at maverick1000.com, which is our network of these high-level CEOs and entrepreneurs who are industry leaders.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Evolved Enterprise, really powerful, everyone. Definitely check it out. And yeah, if you want to go to that next level, Maverick 1000, to really have these awesome experiences and stuff with Yanik along everything. And who knows, maybe you get to Necker Island at some point as well.
Right.
like that. So awesome stuff. And yeah, definitely check out Yanik. As you can see, just so connected, so knowledgeable, and so successful in many different ways. So really powerful. And thank you to everyone as well for watching, listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. Please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis. Visit my website, athincassiotis.com. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way you know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So remember to design your growth and results.